Lagos will pack the gold sector. PAGMI was in the news last week. That's the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative. It's the government's plan for streamlining gold mining in the country by bringing small artisanal gold miners into the system and giving them the tools to mine the gold efficiently and sell it to government. And that brings us to our big hard fact for today. Gold prices are currently at their highest in history. Gold tends to go up in price, especially when there is an economic crisis. So investment in gold is usually a safe bet, which is part of why government wants to do PAGMI. So PAGMI is obviously going to be a big topic of conversation for a long time. And I want to give you the hard facts about it so that when you're talking about it, your opinions are well grounded. With me to give some context and details about PAGMI is the Special Assistant to the President on Digital and New Media, Tolu Ogunlesi. Welcome to Hard Facts, Tolu.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're streaming this conversation on Facebook and YouTube, Lagos, so you can watch on Facebook, Nigeria Info FM, on YouTube, also Nigeria Info FM. Tolu is joining us via Skype today. I think before we talk about PAGMI itself, Tolu, I need to ask, who is an artisanal gold miner? What does that mean?
Well, so artisanal gold mining is essentially, when they talk about like smallholder farmers, who are farmers who farm like a small plot of land, with like basic, typically with like basic implements and all that. So artisanal mining or artisanal miners are essentially, these individuals who mine a patch of ground. It's not, often they would use basic, simple tools, but having said that, some aspects of mining lend themselves to artisanal mining. So gold, for example, gemstones. It's quite easy to sort of do artisanal mining for like gold. You won't see artisanal miners for coal or for iron ore because it's not efficient, it's not cost effective. But gold, a tiny 1 gram of gold, for example, I think it's like $62. Yeah. So, gold is valuable. Which means that it lends itself to artisanal mining.
All right. Our network is doing like this, like that, because last we're in Nigeria, and internet is one of the big problems of Nigeria. So when he does come back, he'll finish telling us about artisanal mining. By the way, Lagos, you can send us your thoughts via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. 080-959-75805. We'd really like to hear from you. Our studio number is 0700-993 993 993 0700 993 993 993. Now, this particular initiative has caused a lot of conversation on social media, at least, right? On radio as well. And people are comparing it, to the gold mining sector, to the oil sector. And on this show, we're going to get to the hard facts of it. We've got Tolu back on the line. Sorry about the poor internet, huh?
Was that me?
Yeah,
was that me or?
That was you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're in Abuja, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, your network in Abuja is abysmal, typically.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah,
it's okay. But
okay.
Yeah, you were saying.
So, so I was saying some aspects of mining lend themselves to artisanal mining. So you have small scale, smallholder people. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Small scale, smallholder miners, individual miners who can, who essentially can mine. They can mine gold. But it's also important to make a point. Artisanal mining is not an illegal mining are two different things. It's not a synonym. People often hear artisanal mining and think, oh, illegal miners. It's not a synonym for illegal mining at all. In fact, many illegal miners tend to be large-scale miners. not even artisanal miners. So, but what happens is that artisanal miners tend to come together as cooperatives. So artisanal miners by themselves cannot even do anything legally without working with a licensed, with a title holder. That's a company that has a license to mine. So I hope that makes sense. Like artisanal miners are not, you don't just basically wake up and say, oh, I'm going to walk into a place and start mining gold because I'm an artisanal miner. It doesn't work that way. You work with a license. So the license holder, a company that's applied for a title and paid for it, uses artisanal miners, as like the labor.
Okay.
To get the
gold.
To get the gold. Okay. Yeah. So it's not people often make the mistake of thinking artisanal mining is illegal mining. No, it's not.
Okay.
They're just small scale miners who work with license holders or title holders.
So I like the example you gave initially, and when you liken them to small scale farmers.
Yes, smallholder farmers. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the equivalent. Yeah.
Now let's get to PAGMI itself. What is it? What are the goals of PAGMI?
So okay, so I've given you that scenario now of licenses. Companies apply for licenses. I mean, anybody who is doing legal mining has to apply for a license. And then they work with smallholder farmers. So PAGMI essentially is a government initiative to support the gold value chain. So there are many issues, there are many challenges. Many of these small artisanal miners tend to use the most basic tools, as I said, with a hammer, and some and water and a few things, you can basically like get mine gold, depending on where the gold is found. Now, another thing, when gold is mined in Nigeria, gold tends to have substantial quantities of other valuable elements in it, like silver. Now, small-scale artisanal miners usually don't have access to equipment to mine efficiently. And then even when they mine, people who buy the gold, they're buying gold, not accounting for the value of the silver that is there. So PAGMI has come into the whole into the setup to say that, look, we need to help the artisanal miners by equipping them. Miners, their work is hard work, is difficult work. So you get them protective equipment, almost like PPE type stuff. You get them, even basic machines. So guess what? One of the things that miners do, artisanal miners who don't have a lot of money or support, is that they often use mercury to separate the gold from associated elements. Hugely poisonous, very poisonous. I'm sure you heard about the lead poisoning in Zamfara that happened about 10 years ago that killed a lot of people. Again, this is what happens when you have artisanal mining with no equipment, with them using mercury as like a solution to separate gold from, because you find lead, for example, in Zamfara, a lot of the gold deposits have lead. These people are handling these things without any protection whatsoever. Gold, the lead dust gets into their lungs, so PAGMI essentially is just an initiative to support them. Like, guys, we're going to help you with capacity building. It's again to go back to farming, it's extension services. So this is extension services to artisanal miners. That's what PAGMI is doing. So we'll get you equipment, we'll get you training, capacity building to do your work better. And then very importantly, we'll link you to markets. We'll buy, PAGMI is essentially saying we will buy off that gold. We can buy that gold from you. Yeah, we can buy that gold from you, and we would ensure that gold, when it's refined, the CBN is able to buy it to put in our gold, in our external reserves. So essentially, PAGMI is connecting them, the artisanal miners, to market, to the CBN that pays for the gold and ensure that they get fair value for their money. Of course, PAGMI also, I talked about the title holders, the license holders. PAGMI is of course also working with them. It's not like you can work directly with artisanal miners. The artisanal miners are in cooperatives. In between, somewhere in the chain is the license holder, the company that's paid for the title. So PAGMI works with all of them as well, buys the gold. So the company essentially accumulates the gold from the artisanal miners. PAGMI buys it. PAGMI, gets it processed, sells to the CBN, and the money that is paid goes, is able to go into the value chain. And so essentially that's it. Liquidity, technical support, and all that. That's what PAGMI does.
When you say buy off the gold, doesn't gold doesn't it belong to the Federation already?
So that's a good question. The land belongs to the federal government. Well, land belongs to, under the Land Use Act, land belongs to state governments. But any land in which there is you found deposits of gold, for example, automatically come under the sort of, to put it loosely, the control of the federal government. And then licenses are issued. You've got to apply for a license. So you pay. There are all sorts of fees. You pay for a license. You apply. If you're given a license, you pay for the license. Now, the way gold works and many other solid minerals is that you pay taxes and royalties on what you find. So it's not like with gold, it's not like the gold belongs to the federal government. You've collected a license to mine the gold, but you've got to pay a tax. There's taxes, there's royalties on the gold. So you pay that, and then you can sell, you sell the gold, of course. That's how the companies make money. You sell the gold, but you pay, there's a schedule of fees and all that to be paid.
But the the Mines and Mining Act says solid minerals belong to government.
Yeah, but when you're paying for a license, when you're paying for a license, when you're paying for a license, implicit in that is that, look, what you mine here, you are the one going to get the value out of what you mine here, but you must pay. So it still belongs to the government. You know what I mean? It's the land belongs to government. Everything in it belongs to government. But you get a title which has terms and conditions, which says that this particular plot of land that you have been given a title for, when you mine, what you mine from there, you pay certain fees based on the value, and it's based, of course, on the value of what you mine on the land. Yeah,
I see.
So that's how we work with
all right.
But it still belongs to the federal government.
Okay. Now there's been a lot of conversation on social media, on radio, and everywhere, comparing the gold mining sector to the oil sector. So I want us to get to the hard facts of this. So Tolu, let's break it down, step by step, in very simple language, right? Who owns the oil in Nigeria? And who owns the gold in Nigeria? You've already said the gold belongs to the federal government. Now, who owns the oil in Nigeria? As in, is it in its natural state, in the ground before any license is issued? Who owns the gold? Who owns the oil?
So the government of the Fed. I think, in fact, I was looking at the Mining Act. It says the government of the Federation on behalf of all of the governments, So all of these natural resources are held by governments.
Okay.
On behalf of the people of Nigeria.
Okay. Whether
it's oil,
whether it's gold, it belongs to the government. Okay. Now, under the law, the only way to mine these resources is to get a license or permit from the federal government. Now, if I get that license, to extract a mineral resource, who owns the stuff that I extract? Who gets paid for it when it's sold?
Well, so as I explained with gold, now let's not make a mistake. I find that on social media, people are trying to draw a lot of parallels or equivalencies between, say, gold, for example, and oil. So there are fundamental differences that we must account for. So one of the things I said earlier is that you can have artisanal mining of gold, but there's no artisanal mining of oil. It's fundamentally not possible. The circumstances of oil and gas versus gold. Oil and gas is a high investment business. So you can't. There's no artisanal mining of gold, of oil and gas. So we must be careful about the equivalences we draw between these things. It's not like it is. They're not exact parallels or identical to each other, because these conversations I've had some of them on social media, and you cannot look. There are licenses. There are small scale licenses for gold mining, for example, that give you a plot of land that is 3 square kilometers to mine gold. That's a small scale license. Now, the equivalent of that in oil and gas will be, say, a marginal field. Yeah, the marginal oil field. Now, compare the cost and the technical know-how that you need to do those two. It's incomparable. So it's at the back of our minds. We must have that clear, that you cannot draw equivalences between the two. But in terms of the basic principles of who owns this, who do these resources belong to, it is held by the federal government on behalf of all the people of Nigeria.
So the gold belongs to the federal government, the oil belongs to the federal government, or the federal government is paying the miners of the gold for the gold that belongs to the federal government?
No. That's a misunderstanding. So government is not paying. Look, when you get the gold, when you get a license to mine gold, you can sell. When you mine the gold, your obligations are this: you mine the gold, you sell the gold, you pay your taxes and all the things that the law says you should pay based on the value. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can sell your gold to anybody. You can sell your gold to anybody. At the moment, most of the gold in Nigeria actually gets sold to Dubai, to all sorts of places. A lot of Dubai gold, for people who go to Dubai gold in Dubai, a lot of the gold in Dubai is actually Nigerian gold that the miners have mined, paid whatever they need to pay, and sold their gold to anybody. Now, so PAGMI is not paying people. That description of PAGMI paying for is misleading, because PAGMI essentially is government saying that, hey, come on, CBN wants to expand its gold reserves. They have options. CBN can also buy from anywhere. CBN can go to the, anywhere, to buy. They call it LBMA, London Bullion Market Association Standard Gold. CBN can buy that anywhere and pay dollars for it. Yeah, but PAGMI essentially is saying that, well, if CBN can buy from anywhere, and if the miners can sell to anybody, why not connect the two of them? So you're essentially connecting a buyer of gold and a seller of gold. Okay. And guess what? The advantage for the CBN is that they can pay for that gold in naira instead of in dollars. Because you are buying, how does it make sense to go and buy Nigerian gold in Dubai or in London and pay dollars for it when you could buy it here before it goes out?
All right.
Do you get?
Yeah. Well, Lagos, if you just joined the show, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I have Tolu Ogunlesi on the phone, on Skype with us. You can watch on Facebook. You can watch on YouTube as well. Nigeria Info 99.3 for Facebook. YouTube is Nigeria Info FM. We are talking about the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative. He's helping us understand what it is because it got into the news last week. He, of course, is the president's special assistant to the on digital media and new media. Tolu, PAGMI just started, right?
Yeah.
So before PAGMI, what gave artisanal miners the right to mine gold? Since obviously it's been happening long before PAGMI.
Yeah. No, so the way the law works is that if you go and check the Mining Act, artisanal miners are actually mentioned in there. They're mentioned in the Mining Act, the 2007 Mining Act. And again, it goes back to the differences I explained between oil and gas, for example, and mining. You can have, especially for gemstones, you can have artisanal miners. Oil and gas, there's no, the scale of oil and gas is so much more higher, so much bigger. So the Mining Act acknowledges that you've got people, individuals who can mine. But they must, artisanal miners must work with a title. So at the heart of this is that there must be a license. A company must apply for a license. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be a company. In the law, there's actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's probably something about a license for cooperatives. And a cooperative, as you know, essentially is a bunch of people who come together, in the same line of business, come together, register as a cooperative to support themselves to do the same kind of business. So, for example, in Abeokuta, where there is this Adire tie and die, the cooperative people come together to access BOI loans. Because BOI says if you want a loan from us, then you have to band together as a cooperative to get this loan. It makes a lot of sense for all parties involved.
Were these cooperatives you're talking about, were they directly registered with the government? These artisanal miners themselves are directly registered with the federal government?
Well, when you come together, so when they come together as a cooperative, yes, in the law, in the Mining Act, there's a place for them to actually be legally recognized by government as miners. So it means that actually there's a license. I'm trying to look for my copy of the law, but yes, they can come together as a cooperative and get a license. There's actually a special license for them.
I
think it's called an artisanal. So there's a small scale. So there's what is called a small scale mining lease, for example. So I think it's probably I think that's probably what
the thing is called. Now, a lot of these artisanal miners are individuals or small groups, like you mentioned earlier on, Tolu. We saw them in February, for example, when PAGMI was doing the biometric registration exercise in Kebbi. So would it be accurate? Would it be accurate to say that one of the things that PAGMI is doing is regularizing the status of very small scale artisanal gold miners?
Absolutely. It's formalizing. The word that PAGMI often uses is like formalization. What that means essentially is that there's also a pathway for people who used to be illegal miners, to actually come together or to form a cooperative or to work with a licensed title holder. So formalization, regularization, those words are all valid. But again, I must say again that artisanal mining and illegal mining are not synonyms.
We'll get to illegal mining, right? But let me take you back.
I just need to make that clear.
Yes, very important. But let me come back to a point you made earlier on. You said something that basically said that the fundamental difference between gold and oil is the technical expertise and financial investment needed to mine them. Is that correct?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big, that's one of the big differences. Look at the marginal fields, for example. So there's 57 marginal fields on offer at the moment. I doubt that anybody is going to spend less than $100 million, to mine, to hit oil, to get to, on the smallest of the fields. I doubt that anybody is going to spend anything less than $100 million before they get to the point of actually producing oil.
Now,
how do artisans?
Go ahead. How do artisans what?
How does that fit? So there's nothing artisanal about that.
About mining.
Again, the other thing I said about oil mining. Gas mining. It's a large scale thing. Another thing. How much is a barrel of crude oil? $40 something. So let's assume that there was a way to do artisanal mining of oil. And you were doing 50 barrels a day times $40. Just think of how much effort you have to put into mining oil, to get 50 barrels times $40, which is $2,000, all the cost and all that. On the other hand, gold, because of how valuable gold is, so a ton of gold at the moment is $62 million. Because one gram of gold is $62. No, sorry. A ton of gold is $62,000. because if 1 gram of gold is $62, so 1,000. No, actually, no. A ton is $62 million. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
A ton of gold is $62 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I want to know.
A ton of
just
one more thing. A ton of iron ore is $90 to $100. Two metals.
Okay.
That's why there's no artisanal mining with iron ore. No, you can't put in that kind of there's just no at that small scale. If you end up with 1 ton of iron ore, all you have is $100. If you have the equivalent 1 ton of gold, you've got $62 million.
I see. Now, what I'm very interested in finding out, because you've talked about the same frameworks in gold, working for oil. Is there any similar scheme in the oil sector for regularizing individuals who are currently mining and refining oil?
Well, so there's nobody mining oil small scale. There's nobody doing that at the moment. I mean, but there is refining of
So what will you call
oil?
What will you call bunkerers? Well, we call them bunkerers,
Yeah,
but
they don't mine. They steal the oil and then they refine it.
I see.
Yeah, they don't mine. Nobody it's impossible for you know what I mean? Like you can't. You need equipment. You need talent. You need all that stuff to mine oil. So it's impossible. So you don't have any.
But you also need equipment and talent and all that stuff to mine gold.
Well, that's my explanation about the scale of it is completely different. Like it's incomparable.
So the difference is the technicality of scale, right? The difference between both is, the scale, the technicalities involved.
There's the skill, there's the cost, there's the fact that artisanal miners work with licensed title holders, licensed people. The people who do illegal oil refining, bush refining, they don't get. There's no license. They steal legitimate crude oil that belongs to other people. There's no getting away from that fact. You know what I mean? So it's a criminal enterprise, just like illegal gold mining.
Now you've said
government clamps down on, and the law clamps down on all of them, whether it's illegal gold or illegal
oil.
Oil. Petrol.
Oil. Now you've said that artisanal gold mining by individuals is okay if they are affiliated with a licensed gold miner, right? Is there currently a framework to let individuals become affiliated to a licensed oil explorer so that they can legally carry out small-scale oil mining as individuals? Because if not, doesn't this simply mean that there is a path for legal individual gold mining but none for oil?
No, but you keep... there's nothing like artisanal oil mining. It's not... You know what I mean? It does not exist anywhere in the world. You cannot mine crude oil on an artisanal basis. It's not possible. What you can talk about is small scale refining of oil, which is what is called the modular refining. That's small scale.
Is there a plan for small scale refining?
Absolutely, there is. Look, there dozens of licenses have been issued over the decades for modular refining of oil. Until the first license that actually was then the first company that actually started to do modular refining of oil was a company in Rivers State, Niger Delta Petroleum Refining, who set up a 1,000 barrel per day capacity modular plant, 1,000 barrels a day. So that's small scale with oil is 1,000 barrels a day. You know what I mean? So they started that in about 2011, 2012. But for some reason, I'm not sure why, nobody else who got a license went into the modular refining.
Well, because they're prohibitively expensive. Less than 6 licenses have been given. With PAGMI, we're seeing government.
No. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Dozens of licenses for modular refineries have been given.
Now that may be, but with PAGMI, we're seeing government directly giving both financial and technical aid to individuals and cooperatives doing artisanal gold
There's
mining.
funding. So this government has made funding available even for modular refining as well. The Walter Smith refinery
to individuals and cooperatives who want to mine or refine oil.
There are no cooperatives. I don't think you understand. You are speaking from a very flawed basis. Like you're not. Yeah, there's nothing like artisanal mining of oil. It does not happen. You cannot. There's so many places in the world that Nigeria is not the only country that has oil. I think I need you to educate me. If you can tell me where artisanal mining of oil happens, I'm happy to listen.
Fine. Maybe not mining. Maybe not mining. Maybe refining. Right? Refining can be done at small scale. So maybe let me stop calling it mining, so it stops throwing you off, and call it refining.
Exactly, which is two different things. Because one is exploration. One is exploration, which is finding it. The other one is processing it into a usable, into something usable. Now, so as I said, I was explaining before about how many licenses were issued. Only one company had gone and set up a 1,000 barrel per day facility. Now, this government decided in about 2016, came up with something called the New Vision for the Niger Delta. At that time when there were all the issues with militancy and all that, when oil production fell to under 1 million barrels a day and all, the VP on behalf of the president went on a tour of the Niger Delta to kind of speak with them.
That's right.
And what came out of that was, look, we have a lot of illegal refining going on with environmental implications, with all sorts of implications, And of course, in the first place, it's stolen oil. So the oil that they steal is oil that should be going into, the coffers of that oil companies and co should be selling and paying taxes on. So the idea that then came out of that was that, look, we've got to fix this. We've got to make this modular refining, which is the closest you will get to small scale oil refining. We've got to make it work. So what did government do? It's about incentives. So I think it was like a zero tariff policy on importation of equipment. So if you are going to import any equipment for a modular refinery, you won't pay any tariffs. National Content Development Board set up a fund. They've got a local content fund, that they've made available for potential investors in modular refining. So government support, they fast-tracked the licenses because licensing also was taking some time. It was taking time, so fast-tracking of licenses, issuing more licenses. So guess what? Between 2017 and date, there are suddenly, after 5 or so years of nothing in that sector, there are suddenly, as we speak now, nothing less than 6 to 10 modular refineries being built at the moment. The first 3 of those ones have been completed. One of them is the one that I told you that started in 2011 with 1,000 barrels a day. It's expanded. They've added 5,000 BPD capacity. So they are now 6,000 barrels per day. Then you have 2 others. One of them is the Walter Smith that I told you about, which has 5,000 barrels per day capacity. And guess what? Walter Smith got $10 million in funding from the local content fund. The Nigerian, I think the name of the fund is it's an intervention fund anyway. So they got funding in exchange for equity. They got government funding in exchange for equity. So these are the ways in which government, so all of a sudden today, we have, by the end of this year, you're going to have, I think, maybe about 6 functioning modular refining plants that didn't exist before. So that's the support. Now, how could one possibly connect that to sort of these bush refiners who are stealing crude and all that? Now, we underestimate the part that state governments play in the mining value chain. So, PAGMI that you've talked about, guess what? Do you know that many of the licenses that government issues to mining companies, do you know that state governments are owners of many of these licenses? State governments set up special purpose vehicles. They set up companies Kebbi State has companies. Osho State has, I think Osho State has an investment. You know, many states have this investment company. They will have like something, you know, Ogun State or Osho State Investment Corporation or something. So you set up an SPV as a state. If you set up a company, you can apply for a license. So many states, Ondo State, for example, the bitumen that is being that's found in Ondo State, I think Ondo State has set up an SPV with a private sector company to mine bitumen. So there's nothing that stops a Niger Delta state, for example, Delta State or Bayelsa, from setting up an SPV and then basically applying for a modular license, investing in it, and then finding a way to incorporate those guys who are stealing crude and refining it in the bush, incorporate them into that company. There's nothing stopping. So, you know, people often sit back and oh, why is the federal government not doing this or this or this or this or this? But we forget that state governments have a big part to play. The biometrics that is going on with PAGME, states are the ones, like, you know, handling a lot of that stuff. States are the ones doing the, you know, doing that. States, as I said, Kebbi State has set up an SPV with the private sector to invest in mining, to work with artisanal miners. The same thing can happen with modular refineries. You know, there's nothing stopping NDDC from putting $20 million or $30 million into setting up a 5,000 barrel per day plant. They will get a license, you know. So I think that people often don't think, we miss out on the opportunities. People are so caught up with the technicalities of these things and with sort of ethnicization and politicization of these things that they miss completely the opportunities that are there. And so the smart people are seeing, a smart person sees PAGME and says, how do I key in? Somebody else sees PAGME and says, how come it's just gold they are doing this for? And then people say things as if gold is just found in northern Nigeria, for example. Some of the biggest deposits of gold in Nigeria are in Osho State. Ogun State has gold deposits. Only 2 licenses have been issued for gold refineries so far. One in Abuja, one in Ogun State. You know, so even if you take Kebbi gold or Zamfara gold, if you're going to refine it locally, you're going to, at the moment, you're going to come to Ogun State to do that. You know, so I hope that people who are listening get into a more opportunity-seeking mindset instead of sort of like ethnicization and politicization of some of these things that, you know, these government policies.
All right. Lagos, you've had Tolu Ogunlesi. I would like to hear from you. Our number is 0700-993-993-993. 0700-993-993-993. You can also get in touch via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. I'll take your calls after this break. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to Hard Facts.
All right, Lagos, let's talk. 0700 993 993 993. The special assistant, or one of the special assistants to the president on digital and new media, is on the show with us, Tolu Ogunlesi. And we've been talking about the presidential artisanal gold mining initiative. It was in the news last week, and you had a lot to say about it when we talked about it the first time. And so we had to bring somebody who had the facts about the story. Oluchi is on the line. Oluchi, hi. How are you? Hello, Oluchi. Are you there? Oh, sorry about that, Oluchi. 99.3. Hello? Sorry about that. What's going on? Frank, hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Yes. Well, I've heard your guest in the, who called from in the studio. Yeah, but what he has said is nothing new. All that he has said is nothing new. That is pure propaganda from Abuja. We know what is going on. We know what effort people have made to get license for a modular refinery in the Niger Delta. It has been frustrated by the federal government. But somebody is here telling you everything is easy, and then all the solid mineral resources in the north are being mined by individuals every day, every moment, and nobody is disturbing them. But in the Niger Delta, where I come from, soldiers, police are every day are there harassing people, and somebody is here telling us that everything is free, everything is easy, everything is possible. That is pure propaganda, and propaganda is not taking this country anywhere.
All right, Frank. Thanks for calling. 99.3.
Yes, Augustine now. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, you're live on the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, Sandra, please, I want your guest to mention the areas, where those refineries are. He said about 6 or 7 are coming up. It's good to mention the areas. He should be able to know the areas so that the people from that area, when they travel home, they will look at, because he has, raise people's morale that so thing is happening. Let him mention the areas where the refineries are going to come up in the near future. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for calling. Tolu?
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't have them. I'm trying to open the list.
Okay, so we'll give you time to do that. Let's take another call while you're doing that.
And,
okay.
I'll do that and I'll.
All right, so we've got Ephraim on the line. Hello, Ephraim.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I'm listening to you from Ezekwesili.
Yes, go ahead.
So the word has started with E and end with O. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've gotten a word entry.
You've gotten what?
Entry.
Okay. You're listening to the wrong station, I think. 99.3. Hello.
Hi, Sandra. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? What's your name?
I'm very fine. My name is Samuel.
Good to have you on the show, Samuel.
Good evening to Tolu also. Wonderful presentation there, and enlightening us about the federal government initiative, pardon me. Well, yes, just like the earlier caller said, these things are not far from the public knowledge. We have understanding of some of these things and how they work. But, I like the fact that the parking initiative makes a lot of sense. It's going to help the FX boosting of Nigeria. However, may I speak about the oil part of it? I don't know if that is allowed. So, he says that federal government is going to buy off this gold from these local miners or small-scale miners and get it back, which makes a lot of sense so that we can use it to boost our FX. Now, I'm now wondering, why is it so difficult then for the government through the NNPC to get back the crude and refine it locally, rather than us going all the way out to go and buy refined products of the same crude that we export. I don't know if you get my my take.
Did you get that question?
Well, yeah, I think I did. I think so. What if I heard you? Why doesn't government
Is that
also
answering?
refine oil locally? Is that
But do you understand what I actually mean?
So you're asking why isn't the NMPC taking the oil from the bush refiners?
No.
Oh no! Oh, we lost that call. But yes.
okay? I have my list here.
Okay, go ahead.
So there is the NDPR in Rivers State, which is the one that started about a decade ago and has just expanded from 1,000 to 6,000. There's OPAC in Kwale in Delta State. There's Walter Smith in Imo. Walter Smith just completed first phase of 5,000 barrels per day. They want to next phase will be 25,000. There's Ikweona in Akwa Ibom. There's Ezekwesili in Bayelsa. There's AIPCC in Edo. And so this list I'm looking at, I tweeted it in September of 2019, actually. So there's probably even more, since then. There's been more since then. But that's 6. In fact, so that's already 6 that I've mentioned, and there's more.
Is Ezekwesili already operational?
No. So they are building. The ones that have completed at least one phase is the NDPR, Walter Smith, and there's a third one. There's a third one that has also completed, probably OPAC, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So at 3 have completed the first, at least one phase. The others are still building, and they should. So Walter Smith, for example, 18 months. They delivered within 18 months from when they did their foundation laying to completion. 18 months, 5,000 barrels per day. So there's exciting news, and that's Walter Smith that has that got $10 million of National Content Development Board funding. So, and then just before I forget as well, just a few definitions. Artisanal mining, according to the Act, it says that mining operations that are limited to the utilization of non-mechanized methods. So that's actually the formal definition,
But some
non-mechanized.
Some would say that the people who are refining crude in the bushes are also using non-mechanized methods.
No, but that's not true. Have you ever seen an oil? It's not non-mechanized means no machines.
Yeah.
You can't. How do you? And then again, we're mixing up gold mining and petroleum refining. I thought we agreed we're not mixing them up.
All right. So someone's asking on WhatsApp, could the government not create a license for the bush refiners and create a legal framework for them to legally buy oil from leaseholders?
Well, so the thing is that, look, again, the technology of oil. Do you know, essentially this refining is the same process that is used for gin. It's the same, like, distillation. It's up like a boiling thing. You know what I mean? So, I mean, are you going to buy petrol that has come from some crude setup in some bush somewhere?
Well, Stakeholders Development Network, an NGO, did some research, and they said that oil from those bushes are actually purer than the oil Nigeria imports.
Yeah, but that does not mean, but that's relative. So that does not still mean that, you know what I mean? So that's another issue. The fact that people are importing substandard petrol, that's another matter. But it does not mean that bush, their standards, So the fact that people are flouting those standards is another matter to be dealt with in another conversation.
Can government not provide technical assistance to them to help them improve their processes?
Will they pay for the crude oil? Don't forget that the oil they are taking is oil that has been licensed to somebody else. So it's almost like if we put this as the equivalent of gold, it's almost like I give you a gold license. You are mining gold. Now somebody is coming to steal that gold that you are mining and paying taxes on, and is then doing their own illegal thing by the side. And somebody then comes and tells you, oh, can government help those people people who are illegally mining on your lease. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
So
remember
put
that
yourself in-
the initial
Yeah.
question I asked was, what is
Yes.
there some arrangements that government can come up with that allows them to do it legally, that allows them to pay the leaseholders? Because I mean, has government provided the framework before we decide that these
That's
people
the
can't
modular-
pay, they
that's
won't
the
pay?
That's the modular. The framework is the modular refining that we've talked about.
Yeah, but modular refining is expensive to do.
That's the point. That small scale in oil and gas is expensive. You look. You are looking for the same. That's why I said let's forget this idea of drawing equivalencies. It cannot work.
There's no
You're
equivalence.
looking for small scale. You're looking for small scale oil and gas that you can do as an artisan. I've asked you if you can tell me anywhere in the world where they do oil and gas refining or exploration as a pop and mom shop type artisanal type stuff. If you can tell me just one place in the world, then I guess I don't have an argument or a point anymore. But what you're asking for is fundamentally impossible, And my analogy of, let's assume that you're a gold license owner. You're mining gold, paying taxes. Somebody is coming to steal your gold to mine, and then somebody is having a conversation and saying, how can't government support them? What would your answer be? Your answer is going to be, well, let them go and get their own license and mine their own gold. Now, for gold, it's much easier because it's much cheaper to get that license. With oil and gas, it's impossible to mine or refine oil and gas without putting in substantial money, millions of dollars. It's just the nature of gold.
All right.
And it's just the nature of oil and gas.
All right.
Yep.
We've got somebody who says, okay, I don't understand what this person is saying, so we're going to step away from that message. Sandra, what is the difference between artisanal mining and modular refinery? Why not give them license rather than bomb and further degrade the environment? Rather than creating jobs, why the clampdown on modular refinery in South but giving artisanal gold mining license? Note, we produce more crude oil than we sell. The excess oil can be bought and refined. I see double standards here.
That's another lie. There's so many lies in there. Number one, as I said, gold mining is not a northern thing. Nigeria's gold belt is northwest, is southwest. So there's so many lies in there, and I think we need to tackle these things and not allow people to continue to get away with those lies. Now, number two is that when people keep saying, why don't they? Look, people who do bush refining are stealing oil that has been licensed to somebody else. You cannot legalize something that is fundamentally illegal. Like, it's not possible. This oil that they are using, they are tapping pipelines. They are tapping Chevron, Shell pipelines to steal oil. So fundamentally, it is illegal. Now, a lot of gold mining also happens illegally in Nigeria. And they get clamped down on. If you just Google illegal gold mining, they get arrested all the time. There's in fact there's actually there's supposed to be a section of the police force that is devoted to like illegal mining. So in Osun State, in Zamfara, all over the place, illegal gold miners are picked up. They're clamped down on the same way illegal
oil miners,
oil refiners. So it's not this conversation of double standards is complete. It's complete falsehood, completely false. There's double standards anywhere.
What you're saying brings me to my final question, because we're out of time. Throughout last year on this show, we covered the banditry in a lot of states, right? We heard from security officials and from state governors about how in some states, bandits were getting a hold of the gold trade and using it to fund themselves. How concerned is government that bandits will use PAGMI to legitimize themselves?
So the only way bandits can legitimize themselves with PAGMI is to apply for a license, a mining license. Like PAGMI does not work outside of the mining license framework. So the only way a bandit can legitimize themselves using PAGMI is to apply for a license. The only way they can get a license is to fulfill the conditions of the license. the moment a person fulfills the conditions of a license, they are no longer they are no longer bandits. They've become formal. You know, so yeah, it's not possible for a bandit to take advantage of PAGMI because PAGMI works only with licenses. So I mean, maybe this is a message to all bandits out there that maybe you can go and start thinking about how you can apply for a license and and get a license and formalize yourselves. Okay. Otherwise, you are illegal, and you will. I mean, the law will, I hope, eventually catch up with you.
So the process of becoming a former bandit is legitimization.
Yeah. I mean, and it happens in the oil producing areas as well, where we've seen sort of people who used to call militants and all that. Former, it's and that's what we hope that governments and societies are able to do to move people out of sort of the shadows into formal legal settings where they'll pay taxes and and they'll have the peace of mind that that all business people, I think, want to have.
Tolu, you've been very generous. Thank you so much for giving us your time on Hard Facts. Tolu Ogunlesi is one of the president's special... Actually, he is the special assistant to the president on digital and new media, and he's given us an hour of his time. You can catch up. If you just joined in and so you missed most of the conversation, catch up on our podcast, Hard Facts with Sandra Ezekwesili. I will be back on your air tomorrow at 3. Make sure to join us. Right now, I'll hand you over to Rufai for conversations. In the meantime, I'm online as Sandra Ezekwesili, Ezekwesili, on all of my social media handles. Lagos, those were your hard facts. Good night.
Hard Facts will be right back.